Parents kicked me out after I donated my kidney to save my golden child brother. Years later, they showed up homeless, begging to stay with me. I had other plans. Hey Reddit, my parents kicked me out 2 weeks after I donated a kidney to save my golden child brother. Fast forward 6 years, they're homeless and begging to crash at my place. Here's how that went down. I'm 31 male, the older of two sons. My brother Nathan, 28 male, has always been the favorite. Not subtle favoritism either. We're talking full-blown worship from birth. Kid could do no wrong. Meanwhile, I was basically the practice child they got bored with once the real star showed up. Growing up was a constant reminder that Nathan existed on a different plane. When I brought home a report card with all A's and one B+, Dad would glance at it and say something like, "Good effort," before going back to watching Nathan's Little League practice on video for the third time that week. Nathan would bring home straight C's with a couple D's mixed in, and suddenly it was celebration time. "He's trying so hard. Let's go to his favorite restaurant." They'd spend dinner talking about how proud they were while I sat there wondering what I had to do to get that kind of attention. The double standards were everywhere. I had a strict 9 p.m. curfew until I was 18. Nathan? He could roll in at midnight at 15, and they'd just ask if he had fun. I had to maintain a part-time job to pay for my own car insurance and gas. Nathan got a brand new Honda Civic for his 16th birthday, fully paid including insurance. I remember saving up for months to buy myself a used PlayStation. Worked weekends at the hardware store, skipped lunch at school to save money, finally had enough. The day I brought it home, Nathan complained he wanted one too. 2 days later, Mom came home with a PlayStation for him. Not used, brand new, with 5 games I couldn't afford. When I pointed out the unfairness, Dad hit me with the classic, "Life isn't fair, son. Better you learn that now." Right. Life isn't fair, so let's make sure it's extra unfair at home too. The pattern repeated itself constantly. When I wanted to join the robotics club in high school, my parents said they couldn't afford the participation fee. It was $150 for the whole year. I ended up working extra shifts to cover it myself. That same month, Nathan decided he wanted to try hockey. My parents dropped $800 on equipment, league fees, and private coaching sessions without blinking. "Hockey builds character," Dad explained when I asked about the expense difference. "Robotics is just playing with toys." I was literally learning engineering and programming. Nathan was learning how to hit people with sticks on ice. But sure, I was the one playing with toys. Christmas was always the worst. They'd make this big show of equality by giving us the same number of presents. But Nathan's gifts would be expensive. Gaming systems, designer clothes, the latest tech. Mine would be practical things like socks, school supplies, or gift cards to places I never shopped. One year I counted. Nathan got $1,200 worth of presents. I got $340, if you counted the $50 gift card to an office supply store at full value. When I brought this up, Mom got offended that I was keeping score instead of being grateful for what I had. The summer I turned 16, I wanted to go on a school trip to Washington, D.C. Educational, supervised, good for college applications. Cost was $600. My parents said we couldn't afford it, suggested I get a job to save up for things I wanted. That same summer, they paid $2,000 for Nathan to go to a basketball camp in California. He didn't even like basketball that much. He just thought it would be fun. The camp was 3 weeks of playing games and hanging out. My trip was 1 week of visiting museums and historical sites. "The basketball camp is an investment in his athletic development," Dad said. "The DC trip is just tourism." I ended up not going to DC. Worked that summer instead. Saved every penny. Used some of it to buy my own laptop for college, since my parents said they couldn't help with that either. 2 years later, they bought Nathan a top-of-the-line MacBook Pro for high school graduation. He used it mostly to watch videos and play games. Every achievement I had got minimized. Made the honor roll? That's nice. Nathan passed his driving test on the 3rd try. They threw him a party. Actual party. Streamers and everything. I graduated high school with a 3.9 GPA and got accepted to State University on a partial merit scholarship. My parents' response was asking if I'd applied for financial aid because they couldn't help much with tuition. Fair enough. College is expensive. 3 years later, Nathan barely graduated with a 2.3 GPA. No scholarships, no honors, nothing. They not only paid his full tuition to a private college that cost twice as much as my school, but also bought him a car upgrade and covered his apartment rent. When I asked why Nathan got full financial support while I'd been taking out loans, Mom explained that Nathan needed more help finding his path, and I'd always been so independent and capable. Translation? I got punished for being responsible by having to fund everything myself, while Nathan got rewarded for being mediocre with a free ride through life. The kidney situation started when I was 25. Nathan had been sick for months. Turned out he had polycystic kidney disease. Both kidneys were failing. He needed a transplant fast, or he'd be on dialysis indefinitely. I got tested and found out I was a perfect match. My parents sat me down for this family meeting where they explained how important it was that I donate. Dad actually said, "This is your chance to really contribute to the family. My chance to contribute." Like I hadn't been contributing my whole life while getting nothing in return. But here's the thing. Despite everything, he was still my brother. I remembered him as a kid, before the favoritism twisted everything. Part of me hoped maybe this would change things, make them see me differently. Stupid, I know. The surgery was scheduled for 2 months out. During that time, my parents' attention was completely on Nathan. How he was feeling, what he needed, making sure he stayed healthy enough for the transplant. I was going through pre-op testing, medical screenings, psychological evaluations, the whole donor process. Nobody asked how I was feeling about it. When I mentioned being nervous about the surgery, Mom said I shouldn't make this about me when Nathan was the one who was sick. I donated the kidney. Surgery went fine. Recovery was brutal. They don't really prepare you for how much it hurts to have an organ removed. I was in the hospital for 4 days, spent another week barely able to move without pain shooting through my side. My parents visited once. They came to check on Nathan, who was in a room 2 floors up. Stopped by my room for maybe 10 minutes. Mom asked if I needed anything. I said, maybe some company? And she explained they needed to get back to Nathan because he was having trouble adjusting to the anti-rejection meds. Nathan got the master bedroom when we all came home so he could recover in comfort. I got my old room, which had been converted into a home office. Slept on the couch for 2 weeks because sitting up was easier than lying flat with the incision pain. The real kicker came about a week after we were both home. I was still taking pain meds, still couldn't lift anything heavy, still had trouble standing for long periods. Mom asked if I could start looking for my own place because they needed the space. Nathan's going to need long-term care and monitoring, she explained. It would be easier if we could convert your old room into a proper recovery space for him. You understand? I was still recovering from major surgery, had donated an organ to save my brother's life, and they wanted me out so they could give him more space. Dad sweetened the deal by offering me $500 toward moving expenses. $500. I'd just given Nathan a kidney worth roughly $260,000 on the transplant waiting list, and they were offering me $500 to leave. I asked if I could at least stay until I was fully healed. Dad said that would be fine, but they'd appreciate if I could start looking at places right away, because Nathan was asking about the room. 2 weeks after donating my kidney, I moved into a tiny studio apartment across town, used the $500 for first month's rent, and bought a used air mattress because I couldn't afford a real bed. The apartment was in an older building on the east side of town. 4th floor walk-up, no elevator. Every trip up those stairs with boxes felt like someone was stabbing me in the side. The incision still pulled when I bent wrong, and I definitely wasn't supposed to be lifting anything heavy. The studio itself was maybe 400 square feet. Kitchenette in one corner, bathroom so small you had to stand sideways in the shower, one window that looked out at a brick wall. The previous tenant had left stains on the carpet that I tried not to think about too much, but it was mine. Nobody could kick me out for needing too much space. I spent the first night lying on that air mattress, feeling it slowly deflate beneath me, staring at the ceiling and wondering how I'd gotten here. 2 weeks ago, I'd been in a hospital, waking up from surgery with one less organ than I'd had that morning. I'd saved my brother's life, and this was my reward. A leaky air mattress in a studio apartment that smelled like the previous tenant's cat. My parents helped Nathan move into the master bedroom with the attached bathroom, new furniture, and a flat-screen TV. Mom posted pictures on social media of his recovery suite with captions about how blessed they were to have the space to properly care for him during this difficult time. I moved myself with whatever I could fit in my car, wincing with every box I lifted. My neighbor from the old house, Mrs. Patterson, who'd always been kind to me, saw me loading up and asked if I needed help. "I'm okay," I told her, even though I wasn't. "Where are your parents?" she asked, looking around like they might be hiding somewhere. "Inside, with Nathan." She got this look on her face, like she wanted to say something but couldn't figure out how. Finally, she just squeezed my arm gently and said, "You take care of yourself, honey." I finished loading the car by myself. Took 3 trips because my old sedan could only fit so much. Each trip back to the house, I had to walk past the master bedroom where Nathan was set up like a king, with Mom fussing over his pillows and Dad installing his new TV. Nobody came out to help. Nobody asked if I needed anything. Nobody even said goodbye. On my last trip, I stood in the doorway of what had been my room. It was already transformed. They'd painted over the blue walls I'd picked out when I was 12. Brought in a medical-grade adjustable bed for Nathan. Set up a mini fridge stocked with his medications and special dietary supplements. It was like I'd never existed there. I closed the door and left without saying anything to anyone. Here's what really destroyed me. Nathan never even said thank you. Not once. No appreciation. No acknowledgement that I'd given him a piece of myself. When I stopped by the house a month later to grab some stuff I'd left behind, he was in the living room playing video games. "Hey," I said. "How are you feeling?" "Good," he replied without looking up from the screen. "Mom made lasagna, if you want some." That was it. That was the extent of our conversation about the kidney I'd given him. I tried maintaining a relationship with my parents for another few months. Called every week. Showed up for Sunday dinners when invited. They'd spend the entire meal talking about Nathan's progress, his medication schedule, his doctor appointments. When I mentioned getting a promotion at work, I was doing database management for a healthcare company, Dad said, "That's great," and immediately pivoted back to Nathan's latest checkup results. The final straw came at Thanksgiving that year. I showed up with a pie I'd made from scratch. The house was full of extended family I hadn't seen in years. Everyone wanted updates on Nathan, how he was doing post-transplant. Wasn't it such a miracle? My aunt asked me how I was doing, and before I could answer, my mom jumped in with, "Oh, he's fine, recovered from the surgery months ago." Then she turned to Nathan and asked if he wanted more turkey. I sat there eating pie I'd made myself, watching my family celebrate Nathan's health, and nobody acknowledged where that health came from. I was the donor who'd been discarded the moment the transplant was complete. After dinner, I pulled my parents aside and told them I needed some space. I was feeling unappreciated and wanted some acknowledgement for what I'd done. Dad got defensive, said I shouldn't expect special treatment for doing what family members do for each other, that I was being selfish by making Nathan's recovery about me. I left that night and didn't call back. If they wanted a relationship, they could reach out. They didn't. 6 years passed. I built a life that had nothing to do with them. Got promoted 3 more times at work. Moved into a decent 2-bedroom condo in a nice part of town. Started dating someone who didn't understand how a family could treat their kid like spare parts. Bought furniture that wasn't from the clearance section. Had a savings account with actual money in it. Made friends who became my real family. My coworker Dave and I started grabbing lunch every Friday. Turned into a standing thing where we'd try new restaurants. Met his wife, became friends with their whole group. Spent holidays with people who actually wanted me around. For the first time in my life, I felt valued. Not for what I could give or do, but just for being me. My parents never called. Not on my birthday, not on holidays, nothing. I'd occasionally hear updates through extended family. Nathan was doing great, healthy as could be, working some entry-level job that Dad had helped him get. I didn't reach out either. Figured if they wanted me in their lives, they knew where to find me. Then, about 3 months ago, my phone rang from a number I deleted but still recognized. Mom. I let it go to voicemail. She called back immediately. Then Dad called. Then Nathan. All within 10 minutes. Something was wrong. I listened to Mom's voicemail. Her voice was different. Smaller. Scared. "Sweetheart, I know it's been a long time. We really need to talk to you. It's important. Please call back." Against my better judgment, I called. Mom answered on the first ring. Started talking fast about how they'd hit some hard times, made some bad investments, lost their savings. Dad had been let go from his job 2 years ago, something about company downsizing, and hadn't found anything else. They'd been burning through retirement accounts trying to maintain the house. Nathan had moved back in after losing his job. Between all 3 of them, they couldn't cover the mortgage. The bank was foreclosing. They had 60 days to get out. "We were hoping," Mom said carefully, "that maybe we could stay with you for a little while, just until we get back on our feet." I sat there in my condo, looking at the life I'd built completely independently, and processed what she was asking. They wanted to move into my home, the home I'd paid for myself, after kicking me out while I was recovering from surgery to save their golden child. "How long is a little while?" I asked. "Maybe a few months? 6 at most?" 6 months. 3 people who'd treated me like garbage wanted to move into my 2-bedroom condo for 6 months. "I'll think about it," I said, and hung up. They called back immediately. I didn't answer. Over the next week, the calls kept coming. Mom, Dad, Nathan, all of them leaving increasingly desperate voicemails. They had nowhere else to go. Extended family couldn't help. They'd already sold most of their furniture. The bank was being unreasonable. They were family, and family helps each other. Family helps each other. Rich coming from people who'd kicked me out 2 weeks after I donated a kidney. I finally answered when Dad called from a number I didn't recognize. We need an answer, he said. No greeting, no how are you, just demanding a response. I'm still thinking about it. What's there to think about? We're about to be homeless. You have space. This should be simple. You're right, I said. It should be simple. But I'm trying to figure out why I should help people who kicked me out of their house while I was still recovering from major surgery. Silence. That was different, Dad finally said. Nathan needed specialized care. I'd just donated him a kidney, and we're grateful for that. Are you? Because I never heard a thank you. Not from him, not from you, not from Mom. More silence. Look, Dad said, voice getting harder. I don't know what kind of grudge you're holding, but we raised you, fed you, clothed you, sent you to college. You gave Nathan a free ride through private college while I took out loans for state. He needed more support, and I needed a family that gave a damn about me as much as they gave a damn about him. I needed parents who didn't treat me like a spare parts donation and a rental inconvenience. I could hear Dad's breathing getting heavier. So is that a no? He asked. I'll let you know. I hung up and blocked the number. That weekend, I got a message on social media from Nathan. Long paragraph about how he understood I was upset, but this wasn't the time for family drama. They were desperate. Couldn't I see past whatever issues I had and help them out? I replied with one question. Did you ever thank me for the kidney? He read it immediately. 3 dots appeared and disappeared for 5 minutes. Then, I thought it was understood that I was grateful. You're my brother. I blocked him too. 2 days later, someone knocked on my door at 7 a.m. I opened it to find all 3 of them standing there with suitcases. We need to talk, Mom said, trying to push past me into my condo. I blocked the doorway. What are you doing here? We're out of options, Dad said. The house is gone. We've been staying in a motel, but we can't afford it anymore. You're our son. You have to help us. I looked at these 3 people who'd made my entire childhood about Nathan, who'd kicked me out while I was still healing, who'd never once acknowledged what I'd sacrificed. No, I said simply. No? Mom's voice cracked. What do you mean no? I mean, I'm not letting you stay here. Nathan pushed forward. Dude, we're family. You can't just abandon us. Abandon you? I almost laughed. You want to talk about abandonment? Where were you when I was recovering from surgery in a studio apartment I could barely afford? When I was working full-time while still in pain? Because I couldn't afford to take more sick days? When I spent holidays alone because nobody invited me? We thought you wanted space, Mom said weakly. I wanted you to care. There's a difference. Dad's face was turning red. You're really going to do this? Let your own parents be homeless because of some perceived slight from years ago? Perceived slight? You kicked me out 2 weeks after I donated a kidney. That's not perception. That's fact. We needed the space for Nathan's recovery. I was recovering too. I had an organ removed. The neighbor's door opened across the hall. An elderly woman peeked out, concerned. Everything okay? She asked. Fine, I said. My guests were just leaving. Dad grabbed my arm. You owe us. We raised you. I pulled away. And I gave Nathan a kidney. Saved his life. We're even. That's not how family works, Mom said, tears starting. You're right. Family shows up for each other. Family cares about each other. Family doesn't treat one kid like a golden child and the other like an afterthought. But that's the family you created. So now you get to live with it. Nathan tried a different angle. Look, I know things weren't always fair growing up, but that's in the past. Right now, we need help. Can't you just let that go? The past? I stared at him. You never even thanked me. I gave you a piece of myself and you couldn't even say thank you. I just told you I was grateful. 6 years later, when you needed something from me, that doesn't count. I started closing the door. Dad stuck his foot in the gap. If you don't help us, we're going to be on the street. Is that what you want? What I want is for you to leave my property. You have 10 seconds before I call the police. You'd call the cops on your own parents? Try me. I pulled out my phone and started dialing. Dad removed his foot. You're making a mistake, he said. When we get back on our feet, don't come crawling back expecting a relationship. Don't worry, I replied. I won't. I closed the door and locked it. Watched through the peephole as they stood there for another minute before finally leaving, dragging their suitcases behind them. My phone started blowing up immediately. Calls from extended family members I hadn't heard from in years. Apparently, my parents had started a group text explaining that their cruel, ungrateful son was letting them be homeless despite having plenty of space. My aunt called me directly. Didn't even say hello, just launched into a rant about family obligations and how disappointed she was in me. Do you know what they did? I asked her. I know they need help and you're refusing. Do you know about the kidney? Pause. What kidney? 6 years ago, I donated a kidney to Nathan. Saved his life. 2 weeks later, while I was still recovering, they kicked me out so Nathan could have more recovery space. Never got a thank you. Never got an acknowledgement. Just got told to leave. Longer pause. I didn't know that, she said quietly. Nobody knows, because nobody asked. Everyone just assumed I was the problem. Still, they're family. So am I. But that didn't matter when they needed me gone. She hung up. Half the family members stopped calling after that. The other half doubled down on the guilt trip. I blocked most of them. A week went by. I went to work, came home, lived my normal life, tried not to think about where my parents were staying or what they were doing. Then Dave asked if I was okay. Said I seemed distracted lately. I told him everything. The whole story from childhood to the kidney to them showing up at my door. He listened without interrupting, then said, "Good for you." Good for me? Yeah. They treated you like garbage and you stood up for yourself. That night, I got a text from Nathan. Different tone this time. "I'm sorry I never thanked you properly. You're right. That was wrong. But they're our parents and they're struggling. Doesn't that matter?" I typed and deleted several responses before settling on, "It mattered 6 years ago when I was struggling and they kicked me out. Can't you just let that go?" Using his own words against him felt petty. I sent it anyway. He didn't respond. 2 weeks after they'd shown up at my door, I got a message from a mutual acquaintance. My parents and Nathan were staying at a homeless shelter downtown. Someone had seen them there and word was spreading through the extended family. Part of me felt guilty. Another part remembered being 25 years old, recovering from surgery on an air mattress in a studio apartment, wondering why I wasn't good enough for my own family to care about. That part won. A month passed. The family group texts got quieter. People stopped trying to convince me to help. I figured they'd found somewhere else to stay, or the situation had resolved itself somehow. Then I got a call from the hospital where I donated the kidney. The transplant coordinator asked if I could come in for a follow-up appointment. Standard procedure, they said, but there were some questions about Nathan's current condition. I scheduled it for the following week. The appointment was weird. The coordinator asked detailed questions about my relationship with Nathan, whether we still kept in touch, if I knew his current living situation. "Why?" I asked. She hesitated, then explained that Nathan had missed his last 3 checkup appointments. They'd been trying to reach him, but his phone was disconnected. The anti-rejection medications he needed were expensive, and they were concerned he wasn't taking them properly. "If he doesn't maintain the medication schedule," she said carefully, "the transplanted kidney could fail. The kidney I'd given him, the one that had cost me pain and money, and any relationship I might have had with my family. That kidney might fail because Nathan wasn't taking his meds. I haven't spoken to him in over a month," I said. "Do you have any way of contacting him?" I gave her my parents' old number and mentioned the shelter. She thanked me and said she'd do what she could to track him down. I left that appointment feeling strange. Not guilty exactly, but unsettled. 3 days later, Nathan called from another unknown number. "The hospital found me," he said. No greeting. "Said you told them where I was." They asked. I answered. "They're on me about my meds now." "Do you know how expensive those things are?" "I know they're necessary to keep the kidney functioning." "Yeah, well, they're like $800 a month even with the assistance program. I can't afford that when I'm living in a shelter." I waited. "Mom and Dad can't help," he continued. "They're barely making it themselves. I was wondering if maybe you could help with the medication costs, just until I get back on my feet." The audacity was almost impressive. "Let me get this straight," I said slowly. "You want me to pay for the medications to maintain the kidney I gave you, after you and our parents kicked me out while I was recovering from giving you said kidney? When you put it like that, it sounds bad. It is bad. I could die if the kidney fails. You could have said thank you 6 years ago." Silence. "Is this what it's about?" Nathan asked. "You want me to grovel? Fine. Thank you for the kidney. Thank you for saving my life. Happy now?" "No," I said. "Because you don't mean it. You just want something from me. What do you want me to say? That I'm sorry? I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry things weren't fair growing up. I'm sorry they treated you badly. I'm sorry they kicked you out. I'm sorry I never thanked you properly. Is that enough? Because I'm literally asking you to help keep me alive. You're asking me to pay for medications you should have been taking all along. That's not about keeping you alive. That's about fixing a problem you created. I couldn't afford them. You could have if you'd gotten a job and kept it. If you'd been responsible with money instead of relying on mom and dad to bail you out. If you'd ever faced a consequence for anything in your entire life. So you're saying no. I'm saying you need to figure this out yourself, like I had to figure everything out myself." "You're unbelievable," Nathan said. You're really going to let me die because you're mad about stuff that happened years ago? I'm not letting you die. You're failing to take care of yourself, which is very different. This is your kidney. Don't you care what happens to it? It stopped being my kidney when it went into your body. What you do with it is your responsibility. He hung up. I sat there staring at my phone, feeling that same unsettled sensation from the hospital. Dave asked if I was doing okay when I seemed distracted at work again. My brother called, I said. The kidney might be failing because he hasn't been taking his anti-rejection meds. He can't afford them because he's homeless. He wants me to pay for the medications. What did you tell him? No. Dave nodded. That must be hard. Is it wrong? Part of me feels like I should help because it's literally my kidney. But another part thinks that's exactly what they want. For me to keep bailing them out because family. What do you want to do? I thought about it. Really thought about it. I want them to understand what it's like to need help and not get it. To feel abandoned and alone. To know what I felt like at 25, recovering from surgery in a crappy apartment with no support. Sounds like you've made your decision then. Yeah, I said. I guess I have. 2 months went by. I heard nothing from my family. The extended family group text had stopped completely. I'd effectively been disowned by everyone, which somehow hurt less than I'd expected. My life continued normally. Work was good. I'd been seeing someone casually. Nothing serious, but nice. Had dinner with Dave and his wife every couple weeks. Took a weekend trip to the mountains with some friends. For the first time in my life, I wasn't carrying around the weight of my family's dysfunction. Then I got a call from the hospital again. Different person this time. Someone from billing. Nathan had been admitted to the emergency room in acute kidney rejection. He'd apparently collapsed at the shelter and been brought in by ambulance. They'd stabilized him, but he needed immediate intervention to save the transplanted kidney. The treatment was expensive. He had no insurance. They were calling me because I was listed as his emergency contact from the original transplant paperwork. I'm not responsible for his medical bills, I said. We understand. We're just informing you of his condition. He's asking to see you. I hung up without answering. My phone rang again immediately. This time it was Nathan, calling from a hospital phone. Please, he said. Voice weak. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I screwed up. I should have taken the meds. I should have thanked you. I should have been a better brother. Please, I need your help. Where are Mom and Dad? They're here. They want to talk to you two. Put them on. I heard shuffling. Then my mother's voice. She'd been crying. Please help him, she said. We know we messed up. We know we treated you badly. But he's your brother, and he's dying. He's dying because he didn't take care of himself. We couldn't afford the medications. You couldn't afford them because you made bad choices. All of you. For years. And now, you want me to fix it. What do you want from us? Dad's voice now. He sounded broken. What do you need to hear? I needed to hear it 6 years ago. I needed you to care about me as much as you cared about him. I needed you to show up for me the way I showed up for him. But you didn't. And now it's too late. It's not too late, Mom said. We're sorry. We're so sorry. We'll do anything. Anything except have done things differently when it mattered. I hung up. The phone rang again. And again. And again. I turned it off. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about Nathan in a hospital bed with a failing kidney. The kidney I'd given him. A piece of me that was dying inside someone else's body because they couldn't be bothered to take care of it. Part of me wanted to rush to the hospital, to pay for the treatment, to save him again. But I remembered being 25, remembered the pain, remembered the dismissal, remembered Mom asking me to leave while I was still healing, remembered Nathan not even looking up from his video game. I remembered building a life from nothing while they had everything handed to them. I turned off the light and went to sleep. The next morning, I got a voicemail from the hospital. Nathan had been transferred to the ICU. The kidney was failing rapidly. Without immediate intervention, he had days, maybe a week. I deleted it. Another voicemail from Mom. Begging, pleading. They'd do anything, sign anything, give anything. Just please help. I deleted that too. A text from a number I didn't recognize. This is your father. Your brother is dying. I know we failed you. I know we don't deserve your help. But please, he's your brother. Don't let him die because of our mistakes. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I typed, he's dying because of his own choices, just like I had to live with the consequences of yours. You taught me that family doesn't show up for each other. I learned the lesson well. I blocked the number and went to work. Dave found me at lunch, sitting alone in my car. You okay? He asked. My brother's dying. The kidney? I nodded. Are you going to help? I don't know. What's stopping you? Pride. Anger. The fact that they only care because they need something. The knowledge that if I help now, I'm just teaching them that they can treat me like garbage, and I'll still come running when they need me. What does your gut tell you? I thought about it. Really thought about it. My gut says he made his choices, just like they made theirs. And I've made mine. Can you live with that? I've lived with worse. That night, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. It was the transplant coordinator from the hospital. I wanted to give you an update, she said. Nathan's been approved for emergency dialysis. They found a social worker who helped him get emergency Medicaid coverage. He's going to survive. I felt something release in my chest. The kidney? I asked. Too damaged to save. He'll need another transplant eventually, but he's stable for now. Good, I said, and meant it. Your family has been asking if you'd consider being tested as a donor again. I laughed. Actually laughed. Tell them no. Tell them I'm done being a spare parts donation for people who can't be bothered to say thank you or take care of what they're given. I'll let them know. And tell them I hope Nathan takes better care of the next one. I hung up and felt lighter than I had in months. The calls kept coming for a few more weeks, then slowly stopped. I heard through the extended family grapevine that my parents had found some low-income housing. Nathan was on dialysis 3 times a week and had finally gotten on disability. They were surviving. Without me. 6 months after that hospital call, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten, return address I didn't recognize. It was from Nathan. The letter was long. Pages of apologies, explanations, justifications. He talked about finally understanding what I'd been trying to tell him, about how losing the kidney had forced him to face his own choices, about how the daily dialysis sessions gave him a lot of time to think about his life and the people he'd hurt. He wrote about our parents and their mistakes, about how he'd started to see the favoritism more clearly now that he wasn't benefiting from it anymore, about how they'd made him weak by never making him face consequences. The last paragraph stuck with me. I know you don't owe me anything. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I wanted you to know that I get it now. I understand why you said no, and I'm sorry I didn't understand it sooner. You were right. I never thanked you. Not really. So thank you. Not because I want something from you, but because you deserve to hear it. Thank you for giving me a chance at life, even though I wasted it. I hope I do better with the next one. I read that letter 3 times. Then I put it in a drawer and went about my day. A week later, I wrote back. Kept it short. I forgive you. Not because you asked, but because I'm tired of carrying it around. I hope you figure your life out. I hope you take better care of the next kidney. I hope you learn to stand on your own feet instead of always looking for someone to carry you. But most of all, I hope you understand that forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. I'm done being your family's backup plan. Good luck with everything. I mailed it and didn't expect a response. Didn't get one either. Life moved on. I got promoted again at work. The casual dating turned serious. Started looking at houses with actual yards. Last month I got married. Small ceremony. Just close friends and Dave's family. Nobody from my biological family was there. Nobody was invited. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.